Angry and half in love with her and tremendously sorry, I turned away. So we drove on toward death through the cooling twilight. And I like large parties. They're so intimate. At small parties there isn't any privacy. And so with the sunshine and the great bursts of leaves growing on the trees, just as things grow in fast movies, I had that familiar conviction that life was beginning over again with the summer. I was within and without simultaneously, enchanted and repelled by the inexhaustible variety of life. I couldn't forgive him or like him, but I saw that what he had done was, to him, entirely justified. It was all very careless and confused. I wasn't actually in love, but I felt a sort of tender curiosity. You see, I usually find myself among strangers, because I drift here and there trying to forget the sad things that happen to me. I felt a haunting loneliness sometimes, and felt it in others, young clerks in the dusk, wasting the most poignant moments of night and life. In his blue gardens men and girls came, and went like moths among the whisperings and the champagne and the stars. Well, you never knew exactly how much space you occupied in people's lives, yet from this fog his affection emerged. The best contacts are when one knows the obstacles and still wants to preserve a relation. She smiled at him, making sure that the smile gathered up everything inside her and directed it toward him, making him a profound promise of herself for so little, for the beat of a response, the assurance of a complimentary vibration in him. Later she remembered all the hours of the afternoon as happy, one of those uneventful times that seem at the moment only a link between past and future pleasure, but turn out to have been the pleasure itself. When you're older, you'll know what people who love suffer. The agony. It's better to be cold and young than to love. Dick didn't want to talk. He wanted to be alone, so that his thoughts about work and the future would overpower his thoughts of love and today. I fell in love on the beach, said Rosemary, who first with a whole lot of people who looked nice, then with one man. For Dr. Diver to marry a mental patient. How did it happen? Where did it begin? I'm afraid I'm in love with you, said Dick, and that's not the best thing that could happen. So many smart men go to pieces nowadays, and when haven't they, Dick asked, smart men play close to the line because they have to. Some of them can't stand it, so they quit. By the time he was 12 years old, his parents had grown used to him, indeed. So strong is the force of custom that they no longer felt that he was different from any other child, except when some curious anomaly reminded them of the fact. This is your child, and you'll have to make the best of it. We're going to ask you to take him home with you as soon as possible sometime today. And here we come to an unpleasant subject which it will be well to pass over as quickly as possible. There was only one thing that worried Benjamin Button. His wife had ceased to attract him. I like men of your age. Young boys are so idiotic. They tell me how much champagne they drink at college, and how much money they lose playing cards. Men of your age know how to appreciate women. But a frantic inspection of the boys' department revealed no suits to fit the newborn Button. He blamed the store. Of course, in such cases it is the thing to blame the store. I can't tell you exactly who I am, replied the querulous swine, because I've only been born a few hours, but my last name is certainly Button. This is a fine place to keep a youngster of quiet tastes. With all this yelling and howling, I haven't been able to get a wink of sleep. I asked for something to eat, and they brought me a bottle of milk. There's a right way of doing things and a wrong way. If you've made up your mind to be different from everybody else, I don't suppose I can stop you, but I really don't think it's very considerate. His talent was as natural as the pattern, made by dust on a butterfly's wings. Children adored him because he was like a child. Youth reveled in his company because he was still a youth and couldn't be shocked. I possess the most valuable experience, the experience of the race, for in spite of going to college, I've managed to pick up a good education. In her less important moments, she returned to America, met Stephen Blaine, and married him, this almost entirely because she was a little bit weary, a little bit sad. I've enjoyed imagining you were my son, that perhaps when I was young I went into a state of coma and begat you, and when I came to, had no recollection of it. It's the paternal instinct, Amory. His youth seemed never so vanished as now in the contrast between the utter loneliness of this visit and that riotous, joyful party of 4 years before. Duty and love pass, I know. Oh, there's sadness, too. I suppose all great happiness is a little sad. Duty means the scent of roses, and then the death of roses. She was gone, definitely, finally gone, until now he had half, unconsciously cherished a hope deep in his heart that some day she would need him and send for him. He asked her if she thought he was conceited. She said there was a difference between conceit and self-confidence. She adored self-confidence in men. They were careless people. Tom and Daisy, they smashed up things, and then retreated back into their money, and let other people clean up the mess they had made. You see, I think everything's terrible anyhow, she went on. Everybody thinks so, the most advanced people, and I know. I've been everywhere, and seen everything and done everything. Sophisticated God, I'm sophisticated. I am still a little afraid of missing something if I forget that, as my father snobbishly suggested, and I snobbishly repeat, a sense of the fundamental. Decencies is parceled out unequally at birth. You make me feel uncivilized, Daisy. I confessed on my second glass of corky, but rather impressive claret. Can't you talk about crops or something? All I kept thinking about over and over was you can't live forever, you can't live forever. No amount of fire or freshness can challenge what a man will store up in his ghostly heart. It takes to make an accident. If personality is an unbroken series of successful gestures, then there was something gorgeous about him. Everyone suspects him of at least one of the cardinal virtues, and this is mine. I am one of the few honest people that I have ever known. And for a moment I thought I loved her, but I am slow-thinking and full of interior rules that act as brakes on my desires. Do you ever wait for the longest day of the year and then miss it? I always wait for the longest day of the year and then miss it. I don't ask you to love me always like this, but I ask you to remember, somewhere inside me there'll always be the person I am tonight. I hope something happens. I'm restless as the devil and have a horror of getting fat or falling in love and growing domestic. He felt that. He was leaving behind him his chance of being a certain type of artist. It seemed so much more important to be a certain sort of man